In the wealthy streets of Cheltenham and Gloucester, a highly organised drug operation was making a fortune. The Polo County Line, run by 32-year-old Uwais Hassanji, supplied heroin and crack cocaine to over 300 customers, raking in up to £7,000 a day. Unlike many street-level drug gangs, this one operated with a business-like approach. Dealers were housed in expensive apartments, and a dedicated phone line advertised their products like a legal enterprise. But no matter how well planned, every criminal empire eventually falls. And for Hassanji and his crew, it was a mistake they never saw coming that would bring them down. Uwais Hassanji had been deeply involved in drug dealing for years. With multiple past convictions and time spent in prison, he used his experiences to refine his methods. He learned not just from his own mistakes, but from those of others, carefully studying how dealers were caught and what law enforcement looked for. Instead of taking the usual risky approach of running a street operation himself, he developed a smarter system, one that operated more like a business than a typical drug gang. Hassanji kept himself at a distance from direct dealing, ensuring he remained difficult to trace. He focused on managing suppliers, trusted couriers, and experienced street dealers. His two right-hand men, 23-year-olds Qazi Ahmed and Jamil Ahmed, oversaw daily operations, ensuring that drugs were distributed efficiently and payments were collected without raising suspicion. This level of organization allowed the gang to maintain a steady and lucrative trade while minimizing the risk of exposure. Unlike many drug dealers who operate in chaotic environments, Hassanji treated his drug business like a legitimate enterprise. He sourced bulk quantities of heroin and crack cocaine, ensuring a constant supply. He personally transported drugs when necessary, but preferred to delegate, employing couriers and runners to distribute the product across Gloucestershire. By keeping his own hands clean, he significantly reduced the chances of being directly linked to the drugs he sold. The Polo name wasn't just a nickname, it was a brand. Customers recognized it and trusted its reliability. Through word of mouth and text message advertisements, the gang built a base of over 300 regular buyers, generating thousands of pounds daily. With high demand and a well-structured supply chain, Hassanji's operation flourished. But no matter how well-run a criminal enterprise may seem, it only takes one mistake for everything to unravel. Unlike most drug operations, which force dealers to live in run-down properties or overcrowded trap houses, Uwais Hassanji took a different approach. He understood that appearances mattered, not just for attracting customers, but also for bringing in new recruits. Instead of hiding in back streets and council estates, his gang operated from high-end rental apartments in Cheltenham, blending into wealthy neighbourhoods where they were less likely to draw police attention. This illusion of success became one of the gang's biggest selling points. Hassanji used luxury as a recruitment tool, offering young men a taste of fast money and lavish living. Designer clothes, expensive watches, and high-performance cars became part of the image, flaunted on social media to lure in new dealers. Some gang members filmed themselves bragging about their wealth, showing off stacks of cash and expensive purchases. One dealer, 24-year-old Bradley McPhee, filmed himself boasting, "Man's living like a king, bro," literally. The gang's recruitment strategy was highly effective. They targeted young men from struggling areas like Blackburn and Leicester, convincing them to relocate to Cheltenham with promises of wealth, high-status living, and protection from law enforcement. 21-year-old Ciaran Windsor and 30-year-old Daniel Darby were among those who took the offer, believing they had found an easy way to make money. But the reality was far from what they had been promised. Despite the illusion of success, the operation was built on exploitation. The gang relied on vulnerable addicts as their customer base, pushing drugs into the most at-risk communities. The dealers themselves were often dispensable, taking on all the risk, while those at the top, like Hassanji, remained at a safe distance. What seemed like a golden opportunity was in reality a dangerous trap, one that would soon collapse under the weight of police investigations and mounting evidence. As the Polo line grew, Hassanji made sure his dealers had a constant supply of drugs. He maintained strong connections with bulk suppliers and often made personal trips to Leicester to oversee major transactions. However, he was careful to keep his own hands clean. He rarely handled the drugs himself. Instead, he created a structured network where lower-level dealers managed storage, packaging, and transportation, allowing him to maintain control from a distance. One of the key figures in this expansion was 23-year-old Qazi Ahmed, Hassanji's trusted second-in-command. He played a crucial role in training new recruits, teaching them how to handle large sums of cash, avoid police detection, and secure drug stashes in rental properties. His influence helped the gang expand quickly, bringing in fresh dealers who were eager for a taste of the luxury lifestyle. New members were put through a carefully managed system, ensuring they understood how to move drugs efficiently without drawing attention. To further disguise their criminal activities, the gang even set up an automated voicemail message for their business phone line. Callers were greeted with a message welcoming them to Polo Sweets and Confectionery.
Polo Sweets and Confectionery, thank you for calling. I'm unavailable right now.
Making it sound like a legitimate company. This level of sophistication showed how far Hassanji had come from the typical street dealer. His operation was built for efficiency, security, and long-term profit. But no matter how well organized a criminal empire is, it only takes one mistake for everything to come crashing down. For months, Hassanji's operation ran like clockwork. The Polo line was making thousands of pounds a day, its dealers were well supplied, and its high-end locations kept it out of the usual police spotlight. But no criminal enterprise is perfect, and in September 2022, the gang's luck began to run out. Police had been secretly monitoring the Polo line for months, gathering intelligence on its movements, supply chains, and key players. However, their biggest break came from an unexpected source, one of Hassanji's own customers. A routine stop by a community officer led to the discovery of Class A drugs, and from there, detectives traced the supply back to the network. This seemingly small arrest set off a chain reaction that would ultimately dismantle the gang. Undercover officers were brought in to strengthen the case. Disguised as customers, they made controlled purchases from Polo dealers, recording transactions and mapping out the operation. Bit by bit, the police built an unbreakable case, identifying the gang's safe houses, meeting spots and top dealers. They knew they had to strike at the right moment, ensuring they could take down multiple members at once before word spread and suspects disappeared. That moment came on September 15th, 2022. Acting on intelligence, officers raided a property linked to the gang. Inside, they found 3 of Polo's dealers, Bradley McPhee, Daniel Darby and Ciaran Windsor, right in the middle of a drug deal. There was no time to escape. The 3 men were arrested on the spot, and the search of the property uncovered more than 60 grams of crack cocaine and 153 grams of heroin worth thousands of pounds on the street. Police also seized cash, burner phones and incriminating videos that showed the dealers flaunting their profits. The first major blow had been struck, but for the Polo line, the worst was yet to come. With their first wave of arrests in September, police had struck a serious blow to the Polo line, but they weren't finished yet. The operation was still active, and key figures remained at large. Detectives knew that to dismantle the gang completely, they had to take down the leadership, and they wouldn't have to wait long for another opportunity. On October 19th, 2022, officers made their next big move. A taxi travelling from Leicester to Cheltenham was intercepted, carrying 2 key members of the gang, 23-year-old Qazi Ahmed and 19-year-old Emily Barbosa. When police searched the vehicle, they uncovered a major drug haul Hidden in the boot was a 248-gram block of heroin, along with dozens of smaller wraps of cocaine, all packaged and ready for distribution. This was yet more damning evidence, linking the Polo line to large-scale drug supply. As police continued their investigation, they finally uncovered one of the gang's most important locations, a flat in York Street, Cheltenham, which served as one of Hassanji's main bases of operation. Surveillance teams had been watching the property, tracking movements in and out, and in November 2022, officers made their move. They stormed the flat, catching Hassanji, 23-year-old Jamil Ahmed, and 24-year-old Levi Grieve off guard. Inside, the scale of their operation became even clearer. Officers seized a kilogram of Class A drugs, worth tens of thousands of pounds, along with huge amounts of cash, evidence of just how profitable the gang's dealings had been. With their leader finally in custody, the gang's once thriving enterprise was crumbling. Hassanji had built the Polo line to operate like a business, staying ahead of the law by running things at arm's length, but no amount of planning could prevent what was happening now. His lieutenants were falling one by one, and with his own arrest, the entire operation was on the verge of total collapse. With the gang's leaders behind bars, the Polo line was on the verge of collapse. But police weren't finished yet. They knew that to dismantle the operation completely, they had to take down every remaining link in the supply chain. Over the following weeks, officers moved quickly to arrest the last key members of the gang. One of the first to be caught was Samir Khan, a trusted driver who had played a crucial role in transporting gang members and drugs between Leicester and Cheltenham. Khan tried to downplay his involvement, claiming he hadn't known what he was carrying, but police weren't convinced. He had been driving for the gang for months, making him an essential part of their operation. His arrest was another major setback for what remained of the Polo line. Shortly after, 28-year-old Lucas Janov was taken into custody. Unlike some of the higher-ups who kept their distance, Janov had been directly involved in street dealing. His role put him at greater risk, and when police closed in, he had no escape. His arrest marked another victory for law enforcement as they continued to round up the last active members of the gang. By the time police finished their raids, the entire network had been dismantled. What had once been a smooth, highly organized operation was now in complete ruins. But the final nail in the coffin wasn't just the arrests, it was the overwhelming evidence police had gathered. When officers examined the gang's burner phones, they found thousands of coded messages detailing drug transactions, supply schedules, and cash collections. Bank records revealed suspicious deposits and money laundering activities, further proving the scale of their criminal enterprise. There was no way out. The Polo line had run its course, and with the last of its members behind bars, its reign over Gloucestershire's drug trade was finally over. In May 2024, the Polo line gang finally faced the consequences of their crimes. One by one, they appeared at Gloucester Crown Court, where the full extent of their operation was laid bare. The sentences handed down reflected the scale of their offences, ensuring that those responsible for flooding Gloucestershire's streets with Class A drugs would pay the price. Uwais Hassanji, the mastermind behind the operation, received the heaviest punishment, a prison sentence of 10 years and 7 months. His right-hand men, Qazi Ahmed and Jamil Ahmed, were also given lengthy sentences, with Qazi sentenced to 8 years and 3 months, and Jamil to 6 years and 10 months. These were the men who had kept the supply chain moving, and now they would spend years behind bars. Other members of the gang were also held accountable. Some, like Bradley McPhee and Daniel Darby, were given sentences ranging from 5 to 7 years for their roles in distributing drugs. Even those who had played smaller parts in the operation were not spared. Some received suspended sentences and were ordered to complete community service. During sentencing, the prosecution highlighted the arrogance of the gang. They pointed to the videos where dealers flaunted their wealth, boasting about their king-like lifestyles. Christine Hart from the Crown Prosecution Service condemned their actions, stating, "Far from being a victimless crime, drug dealing ruins lives. The damage caused extends far beyond those who buy and sell. It affects families and entire communities." Detective Inspector Matt Phillips, who led the investigation, made it clear that the police would continue their relentless fight against organized crime. "We would like to remind drug dealers that you are not above the law. We will work tirelessly to gather the evidence needed to secure convictions against you." The Polo line, once a thriving criminal enterprise, had been completely dismantled. Their profits had been seized, their network destroyed, and their leaders imprisoned. But beyond the convictions, their downfall sent a message. No matter how organized, no gang is untouchable. The Polo line wasn't just another street gang. It was a highly organized criminal enterprise. Uwais Hassan G structured it like a business, keeping himself at a safe distance while making enormous profits. Unlike typical dealers, he avoided the chaos of street-level transactions, instead running his operation with precision and professionalism. But no matter how well planned a criminal empire may seem, all it takes is one mistake for everything to unravel. That mistake came in the form of a single customer. A routine arrest of a Polo line buyer set off a chain reaction, leading to months of police surveillance, undercover operations, and careful evidence gathering. Hassanji had prepared for many possibilities: rival gangs, informants, even police raids. But he never considered that his own customers would bring him down. The downfall of the Polo line serves as a reminder that no criminal network is truly untouchable. For months, the gang operated with confidence, believing they were several steps ahead of the law, but in the end, their arrogance, flashy lifestyles, and sheer scale of operations made them an inevitable target. No empire lasts forever. And for the Polo line, the end came faster than they ever expected.